have heard a lot of people you saying that cold plunges specifically have helped them with addiction. And I find that to be so interesting. And you mentioned emotional resilience. And I think a lot of that is doing uncomfortable things and having a goal, like whether it be like 20 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever your goal is for that session. But it's like being able to sit in that discomfort and process it and not bail. And then I feel like if you do that so many times over and over again, that can't help but show up in your day-to-day life. So if you're having a stressful interaction at like the bank or when you're in your car, that's going to transfer over. But we don't purposely put ourselves in these uncomfortable situations, or at least not often enough. So we're not building up that muscle.
Exactly. You nailed it like, so well, better than I could have ever said. And it's so great. And we should dig into this because what's happening is you're putting your body into a fight or flight state, which we talked about before, that like fear, hyper arousal state. And so you get in the ice bath and bam, I'm in it for 30 seconds. I can't control my breath. I'm afraid. I'm in it. And what you teach yourself over time, every day through training, is how to use your breath to move back into the parasympathetic, right? To like take a stress response and work through it. And so how else can you train yourself to do that? There's no other way. Like once you're angry, you're afraid, you're embarrassed, something happens in life, you're feeling anxiety, like it's too late. You've reacted. Somebody cuts you off, on the street. Fuck. You're late for a meeting, like boom, you're in it. You're in the emotion. And so the ice bath is a safe way to trigger that fight or flight and then work through it. And so if you're emotionally training every day, which is what we teach people, like, yes, it's amazing for health, right? Like tripling the immune system, reducing inflammation. There's all these benefits. You see athletes, professional athletes, always using the ice bath. But what's not talked about is this nervous system regulation. Boom, going up and then learning to come down. And that then teaches you, as you said, in your life, like you mentioned, in your car, you're feeling anxious. So you're training your emotional resilience, which can happen with any of these discomfort activities. So that's a bit of the science about like why it's important. The other reason it's more important now than ever, addiction is at all time highs across like every category. And you think of what the human brain is faced with now. So let's look at TV. Okay, it used to be like, come home, I've got 10 channels, there's commercials, I'm kind of in it, but like, now it's bam, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, I can watch for like 20 hours.
Hmm.
Even worse, pick up your phone. Phone used to be like just for texting. Now it's like TikTok right into your brain, like boom, 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 boom. So like, food. Okay, it used to be I go to the grocery store and make my food. Now I can literally order like a chocolate crepe from one restaurant, my favorite pasta from another, like alcohol from another, delivered to my door, like into the brain. Porn, same thing. Like every single shopping, every
Hmm.
single addiction, that human tendency for stimulation, for pleasure, the frequency and availability of it has become almost infinite. And so, how you counteract that, there's amazing research from this Dr. Anna Lemke on addiction, Stanford doctor. She's awesome. She talks about this a lot on Andrew Huberman's show and the neuroscience around it. But basically, cold, fasting, exercise, these are forms of pain. And so they counteract our excess pleasure and they kind of reboot the nervous system. Because if you just pleasure, pleasure, pleasure all the time, if you think of it like, a drug addict who's taking cocaine, you're just boosting your dopamine so much that things like going for a walk, being with your family, like they just lose all enjoyment.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting. I never thought about having that. And I mean, I'm a huge believer in balance and like that yin and yang energy. So it makes total sense that if you're constantly seeking pleasure and then you're avoiding pain, that there's going to be that imbalance. And then it makes sense for a lot of people feeling disconnected when they're doing the little things because it's not as exciting as like your Viking show that's on Netflix. You're just going for a leisurely stroll. So it's to be able to like have that appreciation for those little things. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so we're really just trying to let people know, like, hey, you can use these techniques, whether it's exercise, a walk in nature, breathing, an ice bath, to move out of that sympathetic fight or flight into that parasympathetic rest and digest, that space where you can find more meaning, more emotion, more balance, as you said. And it's now more crucial than ever. And, if you asked, I bet you, a handful of your friends, I guarantee 90% will say I'm overwhelmed. I'm just so busy. Like my phone, it's crazy. And that's the feeling of everybody now because of the way modern life is. So these practices, like they work instantly and they take work, but you know,
Mhm.
you can get in a cold shower right now, so it's really interesting, like what's coming out to help people. And so I think for your listeners, they should feel optimism. If none of this stuff has worked before, there's some of these like ancient techniques that are becoming popular again. And we've seen, I think in our space, maybe 5,000 people in the last 2 months and starting to like, yeah, really feel into these things. So it's exciting.